L.A. Dawson is an author. She's a health and life coach. She is passionate about helping people heal from stress and crisis by moving them to a life of health and positivity. She includes brain mapping, essential oils, and healing stones in her practice, where she custom designs programs specifically tailored to each client's needs. Now, I did a virtual women's retreat, and when I met L.A. Dawson, I said, would you please be a part of this retreat? And she said, absolutely. So her and I connected, and we have future things happening together. And I'm super proud and honored to bring to you Miss L.A. Dawson, who, by the way, also plays the Native American flute and is giving that away to you for free today. And trust me, you're going to want to have this downloaded to hear in the morning, the afternoon, and evening to just bring peace and harmony to your life. So Miss L.A. Dawson, are you in the house, my friend?
I am in the house.
There she is in all of her gorgeousness. So welcome, welcome, L.A. Dawson.
Thank you.
I'm going to give the platform to you, my love.
Thank you. Thank you for introducing me. Yes, we have connected. I feel blessed by that connection as well. Jody, thank you for having me. This is an amazing thing. I cannot believe the people that went ahead of me. In fact, I'm a little scared, but I'm going to try to get through it. So welcome everybody to my New Jersey kitchen. This is the scene of things that were going to happen in the future, and I didn't know it yet. So look, I had this interesting life. It was kind of great. About 15 years ago, I wrote down a little declaration and said, I want to write novels when I grow up. I was in my early 50s and I was still trying to find myself. But you know what? I did it. I was writing novels. They were being sent out to New York literary agencies, and people were liking them. They asked for chapters. They asked for the whole book. And I even got a call from a producer. I want that manuscript. And it wasn't even made into a book yet. I thought, oh my God, I am so blessed. But you know what? The industry was changing, and who was reading books, right? Who was reading books anymore? Well, I was. I like the smell of them in the bathtub, but nobody else was doing it. But I had this great hope. I always have hope. And I waited. And ultimately, everything got rejected. It's the industry. So what do? When I suffer rejection, I go right back to this countertop and I write another novel. So everything starts here in my brain. And since I was a little girl, stories run around in my brain like movies. It's why I had so many imaginary friends growing up. This is where I was supposed to be. And I had this great idea for a new novel. And I get to create everything about this person, the characters, what color hair they have. They have age spots on their hands. Do they get along with their mom? I liked to watch my books unfold like a tapestry. But on this day, I could not get this great idea in my brain down through my arms onto the computer, into the paper, so to speak. And I thought to myself, this is kind of odd because I could write a novel in a weekend. I was used to doing 5,000 words a day and I couldn't get 2 good sentences down there. And I'm looking at this and I said, you know, I think of myself as a wordsmith. I read and I can't even say it right, thesaurus, because it's fun. I like it. So I said, okay, you're tired. You're working 12 hours a day. You need to take a nap, take a bath, go to sleep, get a good night rest. And I did that. And I came back the next day with grit, enthusiasm. I can do this. I always land on my feet. I can do this. And I sat down and I said, this idea is really good. This is going to be one hell of a novel. And I looked at the paper and I said, who wrote that? It's juvenile. It's like a child put it together. So I took another nap. I took another bath. I went to sleep and I tried again. And I tried again and again and again and again. And finally I said, I think, Houston, we got a big problem. I've had writer's block. I don't know what this was. This was like unfocused, a lot of weird stuff. I called the doctor. He said to me, come on in. I walked into the office and we had a friendly kind of tete-a-tete conversation. his daughter was on Broadway, and he knew I wrote novels. So he said, what's going on in novels? And I said, funny, you should ask. He said, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, I've been trying to write one for the better part of a week, and I can't get the words from my brain down into the paper. He said, what do you mean by that? I said, I don't know what I mean. I just know it's different, and it doesn't feel right. And he looked at me and he said, honey, yes. He said, what's going on in your life? Are you suffering from depression? Are you upset? What's happening? And I said, well, my mom died a while back, and he grabbed onto that information like manna from heaven. You're depressed. Your mom died. We got to get this together for you. You need to go home and sleep. That's all you need. Don't worry about it. And then he looked at me straight in the eye and he said, you know, you're a woman of a certain age. I think it's menopause. Really? I have a lot of friends in menopause and they can write sentences. I walked out of that office. I had no answers. Guess what? Almost 2 years to the day, I had an answer. I was too sick to even advocate for myself. I woke up paralyzed from these clavicle bones upwards from neurological Lyme disease. And what did that mean? It meant my eyes were paralyzed open. It meant I had 6 drops to put in my eyes every day. And when I went to bed, they were taped shut. I am claustrophobic. I thought it was torture. It was horrific. I couldn't speak. I couldn't eat. I couldn't swallow. And when I looked in the mirror for the first time, I said, oh my God, and I couldn't understand my words. They were slurred. I was terrified. But there's good news. Can you believe in this story? There's good news. 4 months later, after antibiotics, I went into what's called neurological Lyme dormancy. That's the best that it gets when you have chronic Lyme. And I was grateful. I took care of myself, but I thought, I gotta get better at this, right? Unfortunately, 4 months later, after coming home from my editor's meeting with wonderful news, I walked up into my bedroom, and as I stepped into my bedroom, I have a treadmill on the side of the wall. My foot got entangled in the side of this treadmill, and I thought, this is really odd. I'm pretty coordinated. And as I was trying to untangle my foot from this treadmill, there was what's called a snow squall, where you have thunder, lightning, lots of snow, and darkness suddenly. And when this darkness happened, I could not assess what was up and what was down. And the next set of events are kind of inexplicable, but I'll tell you what transpired. Somehow, with this foot still entangled in the treadmill, I ended up laying backwards. And when I tried to disengage with all my core involved, I got catapulted frontwards, forward into the instruments of the treadmill 3 times with my face. That's the sound of my face hitting the treadmill, but I want you to multiply that times 1,000,000 and imagine the sound of shattering bones reverberating in your ears. I knew this was a problem. The second time I hit a treadmill, a voice said to me, you know what, today, you're not going to make it. You're going to die. And I got up as best as I could. I held my face on. I tried to grab the side of the treadmill. And I said, Jesus, God, angels, save me now. It's not my time. It's not my day. And something came and lifted me up and laid me down on the treadmill the 3rd time. There was an angel with me, and I was saved for a purpose. I smelled my blood before I saw my blood. And when I saw how much there was, I had this thought, I'm going to be found in my blood. That's how my kids, that's going to be their last memory. And I wasn't having it. And as I had that thought, I looked to the left and there was something shining, floating in my blood. And I reached down and I grabbed it. And this is what was floating in my blood. Can you see these 3 feathers? They are still covered in my blood. 6 months later, I was in a hotel tiki bar writing novels. My face was reconstructed. I had total body whiplash, 6 herniated discs. My muscles were all injured, but I wrote 5 novels in 4 summers. But I noticed these setbacks happening. And I thought, wow, this must be worse than I think. I was loving writing those novels, but I had to go home 3 times a week to see doctors, to see chiropractors, to see physical therapists. But I was still getting the work done. Now I'm still in physical therapy, and I was in physical therapy for 8 years. And I want you to understand what I learned in physical therapy because it helps me with my program. It's called brain remapping. Your brain is a muscle. And when you put your muscle into things, it starts to behave. My physical therapist taught me that if you do a group of exercises that are specifically to get that muscle to fire, it will happen. And I was noticing as she was doing brain remapping, that my muscle memory was coming back, that my ability to speak German and Arabic came back, that had all been lost when I got bitten by a deer tick. It was quite amazing. But while this was all happening, my sympathetic nervous system was in fight or flight 24/7. I was in crisis mode. I had to calm it down. And that's why I developed a system. It's a holistic system that'll transform you. It'll take your sensitive nervous system and calm it down and take you from stress and crisis to hope and health. Now I want to talk about 3 things in this system today. The first one is grounding, because I want you to be able to go home and do that today and experience that for yourself. I want you to walk barefoot on the grass and connect with the Earth's electrical force. This has been proven to take away illness, affect autoimmune diseases, reduce your stress and inflammatory response. Listen, when I stepped on that bare grass for the first time, I went, such a relief for me. First time. The second thing I want to talk about is your gut. You've got to deal with your gut. If your sympathetic nervous system is on fight or flight, if you're under any kind of stress, you got to deal with your gut. Your gut is 2/3 of your immune system. It has neurons that talk to the brain. So your stomach's upset, it sends a message to your brain, and your brain says, oh, well, let's join the party. And the rest of your body that hurts is now inflamed. So we now have this cycle where your brain gives messages to your gut, be inflamed, and your gut is giving messages to your brain, be inflamed. How are we going to break the cycle? That is part of my system. We have to identify the foods that you're allergic to, you're sensitive to, or stress causes a reaction from. We do that with curated questions. We do that by journaling, and then we start to eliminate, add back, see if there's any tolerance, and we move you towards whole foods. The next step is something that I created, and it's called My Miracle Day. My Miracle Day is in the form of an ebook. And whether you believe in holistic modalities or you're just being introduced to holistic modalities, this will make your day more productive, and it will include attending to your mind, body, and spirit. Now, coincidentally, on that same Rise Up Challenge that I met Janet McKay at, I read a book by Hal Elrod, My Miracle Morning, and he developed an acronym, SAVERS. Silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing or writing. Now, I do that in my program. I have a little bit more flexibility. He assesses that if we do it before 8 a.m., it sets the tone for your day, and it absolutely does. But I call it my miracle day because I continue it throughout the day. And my hope is your miracle morning becomes a miracle day, becomes a miracle week, month, and you have your first miracle year. And then I want you to look back and say progress. Now, included in my miracle day are my personal affirmations that I use to walk this journey. There are whole foods recipes, and one of my favorite is my turmeric elixir, which I stir in my coffee or my nut milk, and that will lower your inflammatory response. I also have included some information about stones and energies. Look, it's not the woo-ha, people. This is an amethyst. If you lay it on your belly, it resonates at the same vibration as a calm person. This is science. It's really not woo-ha. So I've also included my articles from Social Life magazine. I'm a health and wellness at Social Life magazine in Manhattan. And these articles are specifically put together to inspire you, to make you remember hope and know that it's always there waiting for you. You just have to receive it. You know, this is available. It is normally $350, and it's $149 for this challenge. And that's available at authorellydawson.com, liveandheal.com. And you can reach out to me on Instagram at authorellydawson. I always want to interact. I want to see if you love this program, this miracle day. Look, I don't want anybody ever feeling like I felt. Vomiting 24/7. I vomited every day for 6 years with this catastrophic neck injury that I have. I don't want anybody to feel that way. I want to help you go from stress and crisis to hope and health. That's men or women. That's what I do. That's all I do. I walked this walk. This system is what restored my body. I do this miracle day every day. I've been doing it for 10 years. If my story inspired you at all, I hope it lights a fire under you today. I want you to run through your boundaries, your borders. Fire. I ran through lots of fire in the last 8 years. Run through it. I want you to be resilient, but I want you to also understand that you may fall and you have to cry. So when you fall, and after you cry, I want you to get back up, and then I want you to stop looking in the rear view mirror, because it's about today and tomorrow. That's all we've got. And there's a possibility you could lose hope. I lost hope, and people used to say to me, "You're the beacon of hope." You cannot lose hope, because we hold you as the person to go to for hope. So if you lose hope, please never forget these feathers soaked in my blood. It's not about me. It's not about you. There's a bigger picture here. It's about us working together to raise each other up, to love each other, to help each other. Thank you for hearing me. Thank you for seeing me. And thank you for listening to me. And I welcome any questions.
I always am speechless after I hear your story. You are absolutely a miracle. You are absolutely somebody who is just vibrating hope and positivity. And there's so many people who have gone through trauma in all different levels, in all different ways. And yet you take it and you use it for a better cause. You use it to help and inspire others. And that's all the gifts that we have to do and move it forward. And it's really funny, because every time I now see a feather, I think of you. And I know that those feathers are perfectly placed for me to see, to remind me of hope and of positivity. So there are some questions that come to mind about why is that positivity? Why is that something that is so important? And you know, why is it important to address, you know, these stress levels in our life?
Because they're there, and they're so, right now, they're so paramount with this COVID-D. You know, the world is still turning. People are still dying. People are getting sick, and they're not, you know, they're not realizing it's a crisis within a crisis, and it's having a terrible effect on people's cortisol levels, their stress hormone, that wreaks havoc on the body. It's something, you know, the expression "stress will kill you." Yeah, I stayed in a high level of cortisol for 25 years. That is the truth. when my husband was diagnosed with cancer, it went up, and it came down 2 years ago. I mean, that's the truth. That's what it does to your body.
It does wreak a lot of havoc having those cortisol levels high. So how does somebody reduce those cortisol levels? Is it the grounding? Is it the meditation? And something that I love that you had once talked about, and so I have to bring it up, is that when I know, but it's just so, if you don't mind, it's just so beautiful.
No, it's okay.
And it's the visual that I just relate to. And it's the thing that, people are going to say, I remember L.A. Dawson's story. And I remember what she was talking about grounding. So I too have now, I've always been involved in those, finding those places that I can go to out in nature that I just connect with. So you had shared the story that not only grounding and putting your feet in dirt or in the grass or laying in the grass, but you talked about that it's almost like you have a plunger. I call it the plunger. Your plunger story, and how to envision that plunger pulling that energy up. Could you share that too? Because it was just so impactful when I heard it once before, and I thought this group would just love to hear that too.
Thank you. Well, I wanted to kind of combine visualizations, grounding, and that your words have power. So I have, through this 8-year journey, told my body to get in line with what my brain was thinking, was that my body was perfectly healthy. And I believe it was a big part of my getting well. So what I would do was stand on the earth with my feet apart, and I would imagine a big plunger over my head. And I would push it down, and I would call my body healthy. I would say, you are perfectly healthy. You are perfectly healthy. And when I get to my neck, I'd be pushing that plunger down a little harder, and knowing I had to take a little bit more time. And I would go down my spine, and I'd say, spine, hear me. You are perfectly healthy. Get in line with my brain because I am healthy. And then I would push it down deep into the earth. And I would imagine that I was holding all that negativity out of my body. And it would stay there until I felt like I couldn't keep it there anymore. And I imagined it raining back down on me like confetti of perfect health. All right, now I got to tell you, the first time I did that, I thought I was so silly and so stupid. And I've been doing it every day since. And now it's not silly and stupid to me. I just think it's helped my health journey. It's one of the things that kept me healthy. I told my body to get in line, and it had to listen to my brain and, my heart. I am healthy, period. No acceptance for anything else.
Amen to that. It's so true. The mind, body, soul connection is so fierce and so strong. And when you tune and tap and turn that on, wow. I mean, you're a perfect example of what can happen, and that you can rise above it, and you can rise up and get your body where you want it to be. So another question that actually that came through was, now, why did hope have a place in helping with people's stress levels? Like, what is it about that hope that helps reduce stress?
Well, it's like faith, right? Faith is that which you cannot see, but you believe. Hope is the same thing. It's like looming over us, and it's there for us to get, but our fear comes in the way, because this was a journey. At 6 months when I was well and writing those novels again, I thought, wow, I'm a miracle story. This is amazing. And then my physical therapist sat me down and said, yeah, it's a miracle story, but you got a few more years. And hope was there. And I had to create ways that I saw hope. And it was really talking about it all the time and believing it and knowing that I was going to get better. And it was just one of those things I held on to like faith. And hope is always there. You can never give up hope, because if you give up hope, you know what? Your body will answer that call. And anything that's wrong will get worse. Because it's part of self-care, just like food.
It's so true. It's so true. And the thing that also is resonating with me right now as I listen to you talking about hope and brain mapping is that, we spend so much time on our hygiene, to brush our teeth in the morning and nighttime, hopefully more than that, to wash our clothes, to cleanse, to clean our floors in our kitchen. but we spend so little time cleansing our brain and keeping our brain in great hygiene. So what are some of the things that you do that keep your brain and keep your mind in a healthy state?
Well, I mean, I study a lot. I read a lot. I like to take my time reading because I remember those days in college when you're in school and it's like horrific how much you have to read. So I read a lot, and I read educational books. I read a lot of fluff as well, but I think keeping your mind active. And I take a brain vitamin as well. After all this happened to me, I mean, think about it. You hit your head 3 times on a treadmill. Your nerves are damaged. They're not healing correctly. And so I take a brain vitamin that also has a nerve component in it. And I just keep active. I think that your body needs to be active and your brain needs to be active. And you just, I never, I rest. Yes, I do rest, but I'm always looking for something that's challenging because that's in the back of my mind. Wow. Because that night when I was in the hospital, they didn't even tell me I had a concussion. They didn't even take a CT scan of my brain. It was on my face because all the damage was in the face. So I just assumed because you can't hit something that hard and not have a concussion.
Right.
So I do a lot. I do a lot of vitamins that support the brain.
I also know that in your aura and your presence of that you and hope and positivity is that you thrive in only kind of allowing positive energy coming to you. So how do you handle negative energy that might be coming your way? I often call it, where we're above the line and sometimes people want to try to pull us below that line. And so how do you ward it off and keep your environment, keep who you are in that positive state?
I call it keeping my sacred circle. Okay, so I eliminated a lot of things, a lot of people. When we go through something like this, you know really who is there with you, for you. And you have to eliminate that which is toxic to you. I also started playing the Native American flute. I am self-taught. I never took a lesson. I do have Native American blood in me, not a whole lot, but it must be something in my DNA because it does resonate with me. And I was told that I was not allowed to cry because I had done so much damage to my eyes. So for 5.5 years, I didn't cry. And I used the Native American flute as a vessel to relieve my pain. And so that's one of the ways. And it also was helping to improve the paralysis in my face. So I would put it all the way over to this face and play it to the left side of my face, and that was it. And then I would move it when I was getting better, and so it gave me rehab, it helped my brain, and it calmed down that sympathetic nervous system. And it was one of those things that when I heard it, like if somebody called me and they weren't nice or whatever, it was easy because that's sound healing at its best. And it heals you cell by cell, and it gives you strength that you can let go of that which doesn't serve you.
Sound. Now you do a lot with sound healing. Can you just share a little bit more about that? Because it also ties into a recent discussion that I had with somebody about music therapy, and it is so powerful to heal your mind and your body. So I'd love to hear about that.
It really is. So I do the Native American flute. I also have someone who does Native American drumming around me. And I've noticed that I can do that myself too, but I notice I have a lot of hearing loss in the left ear from Lyme disease and from the accident. And I notice a little bit is coming back. So then I go to Tibetan bowl healing, which is like nothing you've ever experienced. And I had the greatest shifts with that. Because this is when you're an adult, you're on a healing journey the whole life because you get to make your selection, your choices, your food choices, how you live your life, right? And we're going to make some mistakes. We're going to be unhealthy at times, but that's what this sound healing thing was. One of those things that I saw because I said I just want to get the rest of this. Let's get it done. And Tibetan bowl healing has been proven. It's like, I don't know, 2,000 to 4,000 years old or something. It's magnificent. And those bowls are put on you and they vibrate and you can feel it in your soul. And you can feel it throughout your whole body. It's amazing.
That is absolutely incredible. I actually was in a salt cave not too long ago, and they had the gong healing, right? So I guess, and it
same
was
kind of thing.
So powerful. So I encourage anybody that's on this call to have that experience. And we're actually coming up on our time, LA Dawson. And I just have to say how inspiring your story is every time I hear it. And I hope for thousands and thousands of more times that people will get to hear who you are and what you've gone through. Just like so many of the coaches and speakers here today just have such incredible stories. And those are stories that just need to be shared because people just don't know what they don't know what they don't know. Does anybody have any more questions that they have for LA Dawson right now that we could answer? And before I have her go to a some final words with us? Let me just check the chat here really, really quick. I mean, people love, they're telling you how gorgeous, how beautiful you are, the stones and the gems, they're resonating with that Tibetan bowl healing. I mean, like, I know those rings are just power. I mean, just stunning.
That's my power ring.
Wow. Yeah. That's her shield. Yeah. That's her shield.
Wow. Mama.
Go ahead, try to get me.
Go ahead. Make my day.
That's how she wards off any negative energy.
Yes.
Like, right.
That's how come I have hope and positivity, because I got this.
That's right. And I'm gonna have to get myself one of those rings and be like, pow, pow, I think it's
this one's small today.
Oh my gosh, so special, so amazing. I look forward to continuing on this journey with you. Thank you. Wow. I mean, it's so inspiring, right, people? And just like anything is possible with hope and positivity. What a beautiful thing. Let's give LA Dawson some love, some hearts, and some pow, and all that greatness. And what's your final, what's a final word that you just want to leave with our audience today?
Please don't give up hope. And you know what? If you feel like that's in your heart, reach out to me, please. I've been doing a lot of free coaching over this COVID thing. And if anybody feels like that, I'm the one to call, please. I will gladly listen to you. I will help you through this. I don't want anybody to lose hope. There's no reason. We have a choice to make. And I choose hope. I choose tomorrow. I choose being positive. And I choose life. I want you to, too. Please join me in that.
Absolutely. You are a total blessing. And thank you so much for being a part of this LEAP 2020 Summit. It's been amazing. Thank you for sharing your story.